Hello. Welcome to the first ever episode of my new podcast, Hawaiʻi, the Ups and Downs of Tourism. I am Delaney Yankel, the creator of the podcast, and sitting on the bed across from me right now is the lovely Elena Morgan Hallbly.
Hey, not the full government name on the pod.
It's okay. So, in this podcast, we're going to be talking a little bit about what we know about Hawaii and tourism as kind of outsiders. Obviously, you can't see us, but neither of us are Hawaiian. We're both very white. So we're just going to be talking about the research I've done about whether you should be a Hawaiian tourist or not. So we're going to start with asking our lovely guest what she knows about Hawaii.
Well, I went to Hawaii when I was about 4 years old. I don't have much recollection of it, to be honest. Just that my grandfather said if we caught a chicken, we could have $1,000, and we did not catch that chicken. But I have heard that they're struggling because of the tourists and things with their wildlife and such, but I am honestly not too familiar with the topic.
All right, thank you. Well, if what your grandfather said is true, I think it's related to the overpopulation of a lot of species on the Hawaiian Islands. So they're kind of encouraged to catch and kill some certain animals to keep the population down. Sort of like deer hunting, but theirs is kind of more mandatory, if I'm informed correctly. So this episode, we're just gonna talk about a little bit of Hawaiian history. Let me pull up my lovely paper that I wrote, and we'll get that going. I should have done this ahead of time. Alrighty. So, Hawaii was always kind of a very touristy area, starting in the 1800s. As you can assume, for its beautiful views, diverse wildlife, oceans, all that kind of stuff, the island life. But in the mid-1900s, that's when Hawaii actually started becoming a very poppin' tourist area. Lots of people nowadays, have been to Hawaii. I have not. My parents like to go to cities and such, but that's just personal opinion.
That's my opinion.
Well, okay, so I don't know if I know how to say this. This name of the native Hawaiian people was given to me by my lovely professor, Annie Milady. They said that the natives are known as the Kanaka Maoli. I don't know if I said that right, but I'll have a little link to a little more information about that and probably how to say it. But they prefer to be called that, just because it's their formal name. And they have always kind of well, back in when tourism started, they were very welcoming of tourism because it was bringing them a lot of income that they were not already getting. Back when tourism started, their only real source of income was growing crops and selling it in the actual among the islands, bananas and sugarcane. But eventually they made a deal with the US to sell them their crops, which led to more people from the US visiting, and also a lot of people from Japan, which is because Japan's pretty close to Hawaii, I believe. And so once the Americans started coming more, they realized how much they liked Hawaii and that they wanted to make it more available to more people. So at some point, Hawaii was annexed by the United States. There was a coup to get rid of their last queen. So it was no longer a monarchy, and it officially became a state in like the late 1900s, I believe. So that was a big change for Hawaii, and that made it more accessible because now it was traveling within the states instead of traveling outside of the states. Do we have any questions, Elena?
No, I think that's very interesting to hear about.
All right, continuing on. Around the 20th century, that's when like the transportation started getting a little bit faster. Before this time, we were mostly traveling just by boat, and that was a long trip because it's across an ocean, of course.
It's a really long flight still.
Yes, it is a long flight. And it was on cargo ships. They didn't have passenger-only ships yet. That wasn't until 1920. That was when the first ship carrying only passengers went. After the passenger-only ships, then started flights. So flights were also like cargo planes, so only like 4 people could be on the plane at once, which was probably pretty inconvenient and made it quite expensive to go. But eventually there were faster airplanes, bigger airplanes, and cheaper flights due to the deregulation of airlines, which was a problem. It's pretty okay now. And they're still not as expensive as they were back then, of course. Unfortunately, once that started going well, World War II happened. Of course. So we all know, well, I don't know if we all know, but lots of people know about the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. That caused about 5 years of a halt, or a 5-year-long halt in tourism in Hawaii, just because they were kind of mad. Well, I would be too. They were mad, and they were just trying to like rebuild and fix stuff on the inside before letting more people in. After that, it finally started to get less and less expensive and more accessible, and now we're up to like middle class and the richies being able to go, which is really nice that it's become sort of like a family excursion type of vibe. So that's a brief little history about Hawaii and tourism for now. The next episode is going to be about how their environment and culture and economy are affected now, which is like the main body of this podcast. So next episode's going to be a really good one to tune into. And then I just want to say thank you to Elena, and we'll see her again. We'll hear her again in the next episode.
Thank you so much for having me. I think this is a really interesting topic that not enough people are talking about.
I agree. Well, I will see y'all next time.